All right, for the first time ever, live in the 6 a.m. hour in Pacific time, Kyle Juszczyk is back with the 49ers. Yes, plot twist, plot twist, plot twist. You are reading this correctly. You're hearing this correctly. If you're waking up on this Saturday morning and you're like, what in the hell is going on? Well, I can tell you the end result. Kyle Juszczyk is back with the 49ers. Remember when they cut him 5 days ago? He went to visit the Pittsburgh Steelers after that this week. The Steelers actually offered Kyle Juszczyk more money than he ended up signing with the 49ers for. It's 2 years, $8 million for Kyle Juszczyk. I think the coolest part of this is he's been with San Francisco now for 8 seasons minus 5 days, right? There's a 5-day split there. Now the 5-day split is over, but he's been with the 49ers for 8 seasons. That means he's 2 away from making the 10-year wall. George Kittle also 2 seasons away from making the 10-year wall. For a 5-day stretch there, George Kittle was the longest tenured 49er. Now Kyle Juszczyk is again the longest tenured 49er because he joined them a little bit sooner in the 2017 season than George Kittle did. Anyway, Kittle and Juszczyk are now on track to be on the 10-year wall. Their names can be up there together, can be placed up there together. Wouldn't happen this next season. Would happen in 2026, assuming that Kyle Juszczyk can play out this 2-year contract with the 49ers, which obviously is not a guarantee. He had been under contract for 2 years, and they cut him entering 2025, but now he has been re-signed, so that's all in the past. What actually happened, we're still trying to find out. This all materialized overnight. This was a George Kittle post in the middle of the night that Mike sent me, but I woke up to it. I didn't see this happen in real time. George Kittle was heartbroken the other day. George Kittle seemed much happier today. That's from Alex Mack's wedding, by the way, that photo. So this was posted in the middle of the night. Then we saw Kristen Juszczyk after Adam Schefter posted that this was a 2-year, $8 million deal. Kristen Juszczyk went online and posted this. This past week has really made Kyle and I reflect on our past 8 years in the Bay. We grew up here. We turned friends into family here. We won championships here, and we lost championships here. We feel so incredibly blessed to have called the Bay home for the past 8 years. It's truly been the best years of our lives. Kyle's curtain isn't closed yet, and we couldn't be more happy and emotional to stay home. We're forever faithful. So Kyle Juszczyk back with the 49ers. Kristen Juszczyk is going to be remaining on the sidelines before these games. She's obviously been extremely successful over the course of the past couple of years. That really blew up in the 2023 playoffs, right, with all that she's doing as far as her design of and the NFL apparel brand. So and line. So congratulations to her. I think that it was important for her to stay put as well. This was devastating news for a lot, not just the Juszczyks, but for 49ers fans 5 days ago when he was released, because, you know, we talked about it on the show. We said that sometimes you can talk about cost efficiency and, setting the team up for the future with younger players and going fully into that youth movement. Kyle Juszczyk is 33 years old, so obviously he doesn't fit the scope of a youth movement if it's going to be a hardline thing like that. And even if you could talk about the football sense that all that made 5 days ago, the Monday when he was released, with that coinciding with Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga signing elsewhere and the big exodus of 49ers free agents, that was a really tough day on a personal level. And it would be regardless of what happened moving forward for the 49ers, even if that laid the groundwork for the 49ers to go win the Super Bowl in 2026, losing Kyle Juszczyk 5 days ago was extremely difficult on a personal level for people in the building, for fans, because you grow attached to certain personalities on the team. And Kyle Juszczyk had been the longest tenured 49er. This is one of the greatest fullbacks in NFL history. But as I also said on Monday, this is still a very skilled player who has a unique skill set. Whereas the 49ers signed Luke Farrell, the tight end, on Monday. What was it? 3 years, $20 million. We don't know the exact cap hits and guaranteed money of the deal, but they signed him to a significant deal on Monday. The thought at the time, when they didn't have Kyle Juszczyk over the course of the past 5 days, was that Farrell would reprise Juszczyk's role because he's a really damn good blocker, but he would come at it from a different angle. He would come at it from a tight ends angle. Juszczyk is about 6'2". Luke Farrell is 6'5", so the center of gravity is different, but they both execute blocks on the move really well. And the idea over the course of the 5 days without Kyle Juszczyk was that Luke Farrell would deliver a lot of the outside zone type of blocks that Kyle Juszczyk does deliver, but he would come at them from the tight ends angle, and the 49ers would be running more 12 personnel. That's one back, two tight ends. That's what Brock Purdy had run at Iowa State, as opposed to 21 personnel, which the 49ers had been based in over the course of the past 8 years with Kyle Juszczyk. That is two backs, one tight end. Well, now the 49ers are going to have the best of both worlds. This reloads the offense. You know, even when they still had Kyle Juszczyk before the cut, and now, of course, before this dramatic re-signing, there had been need for San Francisco to bring in a second good tight end. They really missed Charlie Werner. So this is not a redundant addition at this point, bringing Kyle Juszczyk back, even if you have Luke Farrell. You now rewind to the 2023 set of personnel where Charlie Werner was on the team before he left to the Atlanta Falcons, and you have that second really good blocking tight end. And I think that Luke Farrell's a step up over Charlie Werner in terms of blocking. So not only have you reversed the damage of losing Kyle Juszczyk, you're going to have more of the bowling ball figure, the 6'2" fullback as opposed to the 6'5" tight end, making some of those really difficult blocks that you need in the outside zone for Christian McCaffrey and company. But now you've also added that second tight end that this team has really needed. You went out and paid a guy to get that position filled, and the offense can have a higher ceiling because of it. So this is why this is good news for the 49ers. Now, we're still obviously trying to decipher exactly what the hell has happened over the course of the last couple of days, or maybe over the course of the last night, to make this a reality on the 49ers end. We do know that last year the 49ers had Kyle Juszczyk take a pay cut to stay. And he did end up taking the pay cut, and he was almost cut last year. It was a question of, will he accept the pay cut or will he be released? Just like Eric Armstead was released. Two players were asked to take pay cuts on the 49ers in the 2024 offseason, Armstead and Juszczyk. And Armstead had been the 49ers' longest tenured 49er. He had been with the team since 2015. 49ers said, hey, we want you to play for $6 million instead of $18 million this season. He said no. He ended up signing with Jacksonville for $14 million. They also went to Kyle Juszczyk and asked him to take a pay cut, and he, obviously reluctantly, nobody wants to take a pay cut, but Kyle Juszczyk did ultimately take that pay cut with the 49ers, and he did stick aboard. He was set to make $4.6 million with the 49ers before he was released. We don't have the financial nitty-gritty, the details of this new contract yet, but we do know it's worth $8 million over 2 years. So that is $4 million per year. So you could presumably say that Kyle Juszczyk did end up taking a pay cut, although in a really roundabout way this year. And obviously, it was never as sure because it seemed that he was as good as gone. It was never as sure that he'd be returning as last season. And even last season, there were questions, right? But he decided to take that pay cut and stay. But $4 million per year is a little bit less than $4.6 million that had been due to him in the 2025 cycle. And now he's under contract through 2026, which would theoretically allow Kyle Juszczyk to be on the 10-year wall for the 49ers. So we've got to do this. This is the ceremonial addition to the roster. And here's one thing that, I really do need to emphasize. Let me put myself back up on the screen. The question has been answered. Kyle Juszczyk is a 49ers foundational pillar. What do I mean by that? Well, the other day when I created this roster with the core players highlighted in yellow, I was trying to explain how the 49ers are running this renovation of the team. It's a remodel of the roster. And they are keeping the foundational pillars. They're shading the foundational pillars in yellow. At least I'm shading the foundational pillars in yellow. Those are the structural supports of this team. Those are the A-list guys that perform at the level of A-list players who the 49ers have said, we are keeping. Everything else around them is off. Is any question goes for anybody else around them. They're not off limits. Those guys may not stay with the football team, but the guys shaded in yellow are 49ers structural pillars who they will keep through this remodel, and they will build the rest of the roster around them. That has been the philosophy. That's how the Rams operated when they went through their big reconstruction a couple off seasons ago. The Rams, they said Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald are our foundational pillars. We can redo everything around them. We can make everything around them cost efficient, but these guys will be our guiding lights. We're going to continue building the roster around them. The 49ers, unlike the Rams, they got more than 3 foundational pillars. I mean, the Rams even traded Jalen Ramsey away. The 49ers have Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Deommodore Lenoir. I think Malik Mustafa is knocking on that door. Probably needs one more really good season. And I think that Brandon Ayuk was paid to be one of these guys. He's got to earn his way back into it. But as you can tell, the 49ers have foundational pillars across the whole roster. Well, a lot of people were wondering, Kyle Juszczyk, he doesn't count. He's been around for 8 seasons. And the 49ers apparently a few days ago weren't so sure. They ended up releasing Kyle Juszczyk, but maybe there was some discussion behind the scenes. I don't know what led to the dramatic reversal. I'm sure that we will learn in time. But Kyle Juszczyk is a foundational pillar, and he is, again, part of the 49ers depth chart, this time with a yellow highlight. There's Kyle Juszczyk. We can clap for that. Entering his 9th season with the 49ers, Juszczyk is back, and he gets the very, very privileged yellow highlight on the depth chart. So they've got core pieces in Purdy, McCaffrey, Juszczyk, Kittle, and Trent Williams on offense. They've got core pieces in Bosa, Warner, and Deommodore Lenoir on the defensive side of the ball. In the larger picture of things, I think if you look at the fact they've got more core pieces on offense than defense, it's very clearly a setup where the 49ers are going to dedicate more cash, I think, to the offense. This is what the Rams did, by the way. Money poured into the offense. Same thing with the Philadelphia Eagles. Money poured into the offense, whereas the defense is set to be rebuilt through the NFL draft. Now, of course, around the core pieces of Bosa, Fred Warner, and Deommodore Lenoir. But other than that, the 49ers not doing a whole lot of paying on the defensive side of the ball, right? Dre Greenlaw walks out the door. Talanoa Hufanga walks out the door. 49ers have decided we're going to get young. We want to be healthy defensively. We have a superstar in Bosa. We have a superstar in Warner. We have a burgeoning star in Deommodore Lenoir. We have a burgeoning star in Malik Mustafa. The best way to build the defense is the model that we saw from the Los Angeles Rams, the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, you saw Cooper DeJean with the pick 6 in the Super Bowl. Build that defense through the draft. The defensive line is going to be the ultimate focus point of the 49ers in the draft. They decided to cut Malik Collins, cut Leonard Floyd. These are players who are going to be on the wrong side of 30. They were bad performers against the run. They might have been decent pass rushers, but the 49ers were terrible against the run. They said it is not worth it to keep guys who are part of a defense that was number 26 last year, number 29 against the run. We're going to keep the guys who can turn this defense around, who are better than that. And there weren't a whole lot of them on the defense last year. That's why it finished so poorly. But the 49ers will add youth, cost-controlled talent to that side of the ball to try to regain some of that hunger, to try to regain some of the speed, to try to regain some of the health of the defense. Meanwhile, offensively, the 49ers didn't perform nearly as bad as they did defensively last year. So there's a lot of identifiable A-list core pieces that you keep offensively. Brock Purdy was good last year, number 7 in QBR. Christian McCaffrey was hurt for most of the season, but in the glimpse that we saw of him after he had recovered from the Achilles, he was awesome in Buffalo, and that was just a tough luck injury when he slammed his knee against the turf. So McCaffrey, core piece for the 49ers. Juszczyk, good for the 49ers as well. Some of the blocks that Kyle Juszczyk is able to deliver are truly, truly unique. Like, there may not be another NFL player who's been able to deliver them at the consistency that he's delivered them, which is why he's been the highest paid fullback in the entire NFL for so long, ever since 2017. I still remember in that 2019 season, this was 2 years in, Kyle Juszczyk, my favorite story because it was Carlos Dunlap, and Carlos Dunlap is a big-time edge rusher at that time. This was before the Seattle era. This is when he was with the Cincinnati Bengals. And breaking down film, Kyle Juszczyk was asked to do something that offensive linemen weren't asked to do, because he was pulling across the entire formation, asked to take out the defensive end on the other side. I mean, maybe you ask Trent Williams to do that, but you have to have really, really impressive quickness to be able to cross the formation and reach the defensive end at that time, especially an athletic one like Carlos Dunlap. But then the toughness that you have to be able to take on a bigger body. I mean, Dunlap was 260, 270 pounds. And on the play action, they're asking Juszczyk to cross the formation, take out a previously unblocked Carlos Dunlap, protects Jimmy Garoppolo, and Garoppolo throws a touchdown pass downfield. And I look at that and I'm like, wow. I'm still relatively new to all of this. I started covering the 49ers in that 2017 season. 2021 is when the YouTube channel started. But I'm watching tape for a couple years. And of course, Kyle Juszczyk is running a lot of very difficult blocks for the 49ers. But as I had dug back into the Harbaugh 49ers, and as I had dug back into a lot of college tape, and I covered Stanford, so they were running with a fullback, I had never seen some of the assignments that Kyle Juszczyk got on a regular basis. And in 2019, the 49ers truly unleashed everything. I mean, that was the year where it was trial run was over. 2017, 2018, they're building the team. 2019, they were going for it. And Kyle Juszczyk blocking Carlos Dunlap on that day in Cincinnati. 49ers won the game, I believe, 41-10, or maybe Cincinnati scored a garbage time touchdown to make it 41-17. But it was a thing of beauty. And Juszczyk at 6'2", with the way that he moves, he is the ultimate adaptable weapon for Kyle Shanahan's offense. I mean, this guy lines up as an outside wide receiver, like way out on the perimeter 10 to 20 times a year. And he's a threat to catch the football. He was explosive with the football last year in the pass game. This is another dynamic weapon for the 49ers that you can argue they should use more. He had 200 receiving yards exactly last year. The final 60 of which or so were delivered on a long touchdown pass from Josh Dobbs in the season finale against the Arizona Cardinals, where Juszczyk dove in there toward the pylon at the end. I mean, the guy can move out in space. We talk about great plays in 49ers history. Go back to the NFC Championship game where Brock Purdy, who can also obviously move, was able to shake off a sack, nickel blitz coming in from the Detroit Lions, shakes off the sack, rolls out to the left, finds Kyle Juszczyk, double toe tap, football, inbounds, catch. It's good. Same thing happens 2 weeks after that in the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, the 49ers weren't able to cash in with that Lombardi Trophy win. But Kyle Juszczyk in two of the biggest games in 49ers history, double toe tap catch. And I'm talking about this a minute after I'm talking about how good of a blocker he is. So you want Kyle Juszczyk on your football team. The 49ers definitely, I understood on Monday what they were thinking. they figured, okay, limited funds here, playing this from the cash restraint standpoint. Juszczyk, you took the pay cut the year before, but now you're moving on to Luke Farrell, and you're going to optimize this offense toward Brock Purdy and 12 personnel. And Luke Farrell can do a lot of the same things as Juszczyk, but he can't do all of the same things as Juszczyk. It's physically impossible because Juszczyk comes in there from that lower center of gravity, easier to target and move defenders, especially those defensive ends and linebackers blitzing. So now you got both of them. Now you've got Luke Farrell, the new signee, and Kyle Juszczyk, one of the great fullbacks in NFL history. You found a way to have both of them. Again, I don't know what happened exactly behind the scenes, and we will find out. And I will be the first to tell you here on YouTube when it does happen. So hit that subscribe button, because the 49ers, boy, this is a dramatic football team, right? There is never a dull day. There's never a dull day for the 49ers, and we're going to find out exactly how the plot twisted here. But we do know that it has twisted. We know that Juszczyk has taken less than the Steelers offered him. He's going to have a chance to be on the 10-year wall for the 49ers, and the question has been answered. His skill set is a foundational pillar for the 49ers. I mean, and let's talk about the fact that this is a perfect player in the locker room for the 49ers as well. Anytime I've had a question about how the 49ers operate, whether it be scheme, whether it be, philosophy, Kyle Juszczyk has been the ultimate spokesman for the team. And if he's that way with the media, as we developed a great relationship since 2017, then he's that way with his teammates. Right? I mean, Juszczyk has been a glue piece of that locker room for so long. You could see, based on the outpouring that we've seen from his teammates, specifically George Kittle, who is no longer the 49ers' longest tenured 49er, but Juszczyk is the type of vet that you want in any NFL locker room. So the value that he brings in that way is also worth a whole heck of a lot. But now the 49ers have the personnel that they've wanted offensively from a blocking standpoint. And that's huge. I mean, last year, the 49ers dipped down to number 20 in first down run efficiency, and they were number 31 in run efficiency on third and fourth downs with less than 2 yards to go. So when people knew that they had to run the ball, the 49ers didn't do a good job running the ball. And so much of that drop-off happened, of course, because the running backs were hurt. McCaffrey and Mason were hurt. But I think they were losing a lot at the second tight end position. So much that they said, okay, we're going to have to pay a lot to replace Charlie Werner, who's been gone since the end of the 2023 season. So they went out there and they signed Luke Farrell from the Jaguars. And they said when they signed Farrell, well, gee, we're slashing spending. I don't know if we can keep Kyle Juszczyk now. They said, well, I guess it's worth it to sign Luke Farrell and let go of Kyle Juszczyk, because the biggest weakness was that second tight end position, and we could just move to more 12 personnel instead of 21 personnel. So Juszczyk was off the team for 5 days, but now the 49ers have found a way to get Juszczyk back in the fold, so they have the best of both worlds. It was not Juszczyk's fault that the 49ers were poor in that short yardage run game last year, that they were number 20 in first down run efficiency. That just can't happen with a Kyle Shanahan offense. It was not Juszczyk's fault. He's been fine. He's been playing at a high level year in and year out. He had the one low light last year, which was the fumble against Buffalo at the goal line. That wouldn't have changed the outcome of that game, though. The 49ers, that was a very dark night for San Francisco. But it wasn't Juszczyk's fault, but unfortunately, at a point here for 5 days this week, the 49ers saw the opportunity cost, and they don't see it that way anymore, obviously, as they brought Kyle Juszczyk back in this reversal. But they said, we have to let go of one of these pieces so we can improve the piece that more needs attention. And now they have both Farrell and Juszczyk on this roster. Anyway, I'm going to delve into the comment section. Should be a happy place today because of this reversal. Ian says Kyle has a plan. Well, I mean, I'm sure he has a plan, but either this is Kyle Juszczyk, this is Kyle Shanahan that we're talking about now. I think there might have been some white knuckling here over the course of the past several days, at the very least, because Kyle Juszczyk literally went to Pittsburgh and they offered him more money than the 49ers offered him. I don't even know if the 49ers had offered him at the time or if this came to be. I mean, they released him, obviously. They released him, and I don't know if he was asked to take a pay cut this time around. All of that was murky throughout this process. So whatever the end result is, I guess we could call it a plan, but I'm not really sure how we got from point A to point B. And I just woke up. This is our first show to ever begin in the 6 o'clock hour. I mean, we never started this early. On YouTube, we have 1,500 people watching. That's how excited the 49ers fan base is about this news. We've got even more if you include the cross stream that I'm doing right now to X. So this is really, really remarkable. I've never seen anything like this. And as I said, the 49ers, it seems that there's a plot twist around every corner, and the 49ers have a plot twist now for us, and that Kyle Juszczyk is returning 2 years, $8 million for San Francisco. Question has been answered as the 49ers renovate this team. Kyle Juszczyk is a foundational pillar of the 49ers. And I've talked so much about the foundational pillars around which San Francisco is building their football team. A few minutes ago, we had our ceremonial re-addition of Kyle Shanahan of Kyle Juszczyk to the 49ers depth chart. And for the first time ever since I made these foundational pillar yellow highlights a thing after the 49ers had released Juszczyk to illustrate how they're renovating this roster, for the first time ever, Kyle Juszczyk is one of the yellow highlight. He is one of the 49ers foundational pillars. Congratulations to him. Big moment in a decade featuring so many big moments, and technically 8 or 9 years. It's not a full decade, because once it's a decade, Juszczyk will be on that 10-year wall. But in a decade featuring so many plot twists, this is one of the biggest ones. Another huge one was Jimmy Garoppolo returning to the team in 2022. He was under contract the whole time, though. Garoppolo never technically left. Now, everybody assumed that he was gone. 49ers were trying to trade him, but the shoulder injury prevented him from being traded in 2022. And then everybody looked at each other in August of 2022 and said, it makes sense for you to return this year, obviously on a renegotiated salary. You were set to make $27 million, but how about $10 million? Because you're going to be the backup to start the season to Trey Lance, but there's a chance that you're going to take over as the starter at some point in 2022 if Trey Lance struggles. And Trey Lance then got hurt in week 3, and Jimmy Garoppolo, I think it was unspoken. I think that everybody knew the deal. I think everybody knew that Trey Lance was a very raw prospect, and the 49ers were a big-time contending team. Jimmy ended up taking over for Trey Lance in week 2 against the Seattle Seahawks and ended up having a really good year. But he too got hurt, and that obviously led to Brock Purdy. So talk about massive plot twists. Jimmy Garoppolo staying with the 49ers, then giving way to Brock Purdy in 2022 was one such great example. This here, it may not be the same level of profile, right? Not as high profile, because this is a fullback position and not quarterback. But this is even crazier to me, because Juszczyk was literally released. He was gone for 5 days from the team. He was out in Pittsburgh on a free agent visit, overlooking their practice fields. They offered him more money than the 49ers, and yet here Kyle Juszczyk is back in the Bay Area, not ready to leave. The 49ers not ready to see him leave. Whatever the hell happened here over the course of the past few days, they're going to treat it as water under the bridge. George Kittle is thrilled because his buddy Kyle Juszczyk is back, and I'm sure a lot of the 49ers locker room is also thrilled. There is the Kittle post, the juice box and the heart coming in late at night. Big question now is, guys, when is Mike going to wake up? Because we got to get Mike on. Mike was awake at like 1 or 2 or 3 a.m. or whatever the hell time it was. I wasn't awake anymore when some of this started to materialize. And he went to bed. Let me read my texts here from Mike. Mike sends me George Kittle Instagram post, and he types, "We sure Juice isn't coming back." This is at 1:15 a.m. Pacific, or 1:15 a.m. Central Time. Actually, Pacific Time. Yeah, 1:15 a.m. Pacific Time. "We sure Juice isn't coming back?" Mike asks. What if they just let Juice test his market? Interesting. David's asleep. I'm asleep at the time. So then I wake up at, I don't know, about 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. And I look at my phone and I have a text from Keith. You know, Keith is a friend of the show. I believe Keith is either in Korea or Japan right now. He's on a trip. And Keith, all caps, Juice with a bunch of E's, Juice. Damn it, that was dramatic. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell happened? And I see Mike's messages. And then I go online and I ask Mike, like, what the F happened? Mike didn't respond because Mike's asleep right now. So I created the live. Mike makes really good thumbnails. I just took a picture from an old video interview with Kyle Juszczyk, tacked it onto the thumbnail of the video that you clicked on. I told Mike, hey, I've got to go live. There are like 90 people waiting for me in the room. This could be our first show in the 6 a.m. hour. Kyle Juszczyk has just re-signed with the 49ers in one of the wildest plot twists that we've ever seen. Please just join me when you wake up. So at this point, I mean, we could start chanting Mike in the comment section. I know everybody's excited this morning, but if you want Mike to wake up, maybe the more times that we chant his name in the comment section, it'll wake him up. He's back in Visalia, though, and we're waiting for Mike to join us on this show. There we go. Dominic says, Mike, 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 Mike. We're waiting for Mike. Crazy, crazy morning. But it's good news for the 49ers. It's undeniably good news for the 49ers this morning. Michael says, is the 49ers' lack of pursuing Drew Dahlman a good sign that they are high on Hennessy and Nugent? They're higher on Jake Brendel than I think a lot of the outside is. Hennessy is a good question. I think they see something in him that can compete with Jake Brendel. They might actually also go center in the draft. I wouldn't rule that out. The last few centers that have been drafted relatively high up have become contributors at the NFL level much more quickly than had been the case in years prior. I mean, and maybe that's still the case with the 49ers because you obviously have a situation with San Francisco where Kyle Shanahan's offense puts so much on the centers cerebrally. Maybe you'd say that this guy has to have a year to learn behind the scenes. Drake Nugent did learn behind the scenes for the 49ers last year. But my read on the center position is, A, they've liked Brendel more than the outside. Whether or not I agree with that is immaterial. That's what Kyle Shanahan thinks, and he actually knows offense better than me. So I'm going to sit back and just watch the 49ers moves and break down their strategy. But I, also have to note that they did poach Hennessy off waivers from Atlanta, that he was the successor to Mack, the predecessor to Dahlman out there. And I do know that Nugent was a really good college center, although he might be a bit undersized. So I'm going to watch that competition with very keen interest this offseason. All right, Daniel, I'm sorry to say this, but you don't understand how the salary cap works. Daniel says, not good cap efficiency to pay dead cap hit to a player and then re-sign him. That's nonsensical. Dead money is money that was going to hit the cap anyway for a player. So regardless of whether or not you re-sign him, you're going to pay that money against the salary cap. So it is fine cap efficiency for the 49ers. Like dead money is money, again, that you've already paid a player. You have just decided that you want it to hit the salary cap later. Every single dollar that you pay a player has to hit the salary cap at some point. So when the 49ers released Juszczyk, the $1.9 million that still had to hit the salary cap, and it was going to hit the salary cap in 2025, that $1.9 million hit in 2025 anyway, but just as dead money, not as salary for Juszczyk. Now the 49ers who have re-signed Juszczyk will pay him his $4 million per year, probably stagger the cap hit out in a creative way. We'll see how that works because cap space now is more valuable than cap space later. So they may intentionally create more dead money for future years through void years like they have in all these deals. And they'll just pay whatever the cap charge is this year on top of the cap charge that they already owed him in the past. Nothing is more or less efficient. They're going to owe the same money against the cap anyway. They just tacked on a new contract now. It wasn't like you're going to reduce the dead money charge. So people who complain about dead money, and sorry to single you out, but you're here trying to tell me that it's not good cap efficiency. Sorry, I know cap efficiency. People who say that and complain that dead money is out of control do not understand dead money. In fact, the 49ers have created a lot of dead money intentionally through the void years. You know who else has done the same thing? The Philadelphia Eagles have created dead money intentionally through void years. So that's pushing cap charges back intentionally so you could open up cap space in the near term. Anytime that you let go of a player or his contract terms out, that dead money accelerates the hit now. And that was the case with Kyle Juszczyk coming back to the 49ers or leaving the 49ers. And now he comes back so they have a new contract on top of it. But let's stop pretending that we know about dead money and think that it's some horrible thing when it isn't. Any media member who's out there posting like dead money lists without context, without explaining it to you the way that I'm explaining it to you, is just trying to agitate, is just trying to get you worked up about the 49ers situation, is just trying to take a cheap shot at a financial situation they don't understand either, in all likelihood. And teams will shoulder dead money intentionally more so than ever before because of void year usage. And then it's just good business to move off of players sooner rather than later. That's something that Bill Walsh did. And if that entails taking a cap hit that was not supposed to hit until the future now, because that's how the rules work in the NFL, that's smart business. You'd rather not subscribe to sunk cost fallacy. Look up sunk cost fallacy if you don't know what that means, because I think the 49ers have done a very good job avoiding that. Look at this. Michael's awesome. I know Michael. He showed up to our meet and greet in Nashville. This is not dead money from Michael. I really appreciate you, man. That makes my day in the morning. This is our first 6 a.m. show ever. Michael's a cool dude, always has good questions, knows the roster really well, and he's going to help me pay for breakfast this morning. I've got to go. Lombardi herself is sleeping still. She's very tired. I was like, hey, wake up. Kyle Juszczyk has re-signed with the 49ers, and she was excited for 5 seconds, and then she went back to sleep. So I said, hey, I'm going to go down and do it live. We're going to go buy Lombardi herself breakfast. We're going to get some very nice bagels. Michael, you know Lombardi herself. You know Margot. Margot's her name. I like to call her Lombardi herself. But I really appreciate you. That is big time right there from Michael Powers. I've been working 2 jobs here since 2021 to try to bring you guys this insight on YouTube. Especially this week was really loaded with work, with, tracking how the 49ers are rebuilding this team, remodeling this team. It's a rebuild around the pillars, which I call a remodel of the football team. So tracking that both on the San Francisco Standard and in terms of writing some of these articles on the Standard, and then in terms of doing these videos, has been a lot of work. And I really do appreciate what Michael has brought to the table. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it, man. So speaking of the Standard, 49ers signed Mac Jones earlier this week. The football gods have a sense of humor. Football gods obviously apparently like the boomerang effect. That's what's happened with Kyle Juszczyk. He is back with San Francisco. The 49ers news cycle has never failed to disappoint us over the course of the past 8 years. That's for sure. Look at all that's happened. This goes back to building your own 49ers roster. Part of this, let's go back to it. Let's see what the 49ers roster build looks like at this point. Because I believe that I updated part of this to reflect that Kyle Juszczyk is gone. Yeah, look, Kyle Juszczyk already released. Well, I guess he's not already released anymore. He had been aboard. We're just going to sign him up for a pay cut and a $3.6 million cap hit. We're going to put him not as already released. We're going to unshade this. And there you go. Juszczyk is back. The pre-existing deal had been a $6.5 million cap hit. Now this is an estimate, but I think his cap damage this year will probably be around $3.6 million because they'll backload it. And we'll see Juszczyk back on that 2-year, $8 million deal for the 49ers. Plot twist indeed. How many people are waking up right now? I see the room is growing and growing and growing. I'm looking at the numbers right here. How many people are waking up right now to just shocking news? And you're like, what the hell? You're having whiplash. Well, I don't blame you because that's what happened to me about an hour ago. I am live before the first cup of coffee. I haven't had food yet. I haven't broken the fast yet. No breakfast. But we need to be on top of everything. So first show ever in the 6 a.m. hour. This is undeniably good news for the 49ers. They're able to have their cake and eat it too. They have both Kyle Juszczyk and Luke Farrell now. They've got the tight end 2 and the all-pro fullback. And I know fullback, I think the AP finally added all-pro fullback to its list of potential all-pros. But he's been a Pro Bowler for all the years that he's been with the 49ers, one of the most durable players in the NFL, one of the toughest players in the NFL. I mean, let me go back to this. I talked about this the other day, Kyle Juszczyk's toughness. Kyle Juszczyk is tough with a capital T. Gonna repost this right now, and let's get this up on the screen so you guys can read what I wrote about Juszczyk. I believe this was back in the 2017 season. Wrote this a long time ago in 2017. And I gotta also tweet some of my thoughts. Get this out there. But read this. In the first quarter of a 2017 game against the Indianapolis Colts, so this is back on the East Coast in Indianapolis, Kyle Juszczyk broke 2 transverse processes, which are bony protrusions from the back of the vertebrae, fractured a rib, and suffered a hematoma on his psoas muscle, which is around the lower back. Not realizing anything was broken, Juszczyk, with the help of a therapeutic corset that treated his back with heat on the sideline, played the entire game. But the flight home was so painful and the damage to Juszczyk's back so bad that doctors sent him to stay in the hospital in the night after the 49ers returned to the Bay Area. So this guy played with 2 fractures in his back and a hematoma. He played in an NFL game. He continued playing through it, even though he had to have this heated therapeutic corset that allowed him to even move, I guess. But he played in an NFL game. Then the flight home was so painful, he had to check into the hospital after he got home. So Kyle Juszczyk is tough with a capital T. So I'm getting a lot of these questions. What about the dead cap hit? They're going to have to pay the dead cap hit regardless. You guys, please understand the dead money is money that you're going to have to pay regardless, and salary cap space carries over from season to season. Dead money is simply money that you've paid a player that hasn't yet hit the cap. So when you cut a player, it turns into dead money instead of any other kind of cap hit. The impact on the salary cap is the same. This is not a bad move for the 49ers financially. They have made their team better because Kyle Juszczyk is a really damn good fullback. They now have both Juszczyk and Farrell. You'd rather have more weapons than fewer weapons. And plus, the salary cap is not really an issue for the 49ers right now. If you guys notice how much space they have year over year, they've been able to clear a lot of inefficient money off the books. And it's more of a cash spend issue than a cap spend issue. Obviously, they're going to sign Brock Purdy to a mega deal. That mega deal is going to eat out of the cap space. But the 49ers have been able to surf the wave of the rising salary cap quite effectively. Andrew says, appreciate you entertaining me and annoying my wife. Love it. Hopefully she's not too annoyed right now. Hopefully it's not too early wherever you are. I appreciate the super chat, though. The super chat hits harder when it's 7:43 a.m. Pacific time. When we were aboard here at the 6 o'clock hour, nobody else is going live this early. At least no real channel is going live this early. No legitimate channel, right? And you haven't had your coffee yet. You're still trying to figure out what the hell happened with Kyle Juszczyk and this big reversal, which is, of course, good news for the 49ers. But you're trying to wake up. That's the boat that I've been in. So to see the support from you guys really means a lot. Thank you. What are the chances of the 49ers drafting a referee? They're not the Kansas City Chiefs, so I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen for San Francisco. Oh, come on, Greg. The 49ers couldn't get a yard or two with whoever they put in the backfield last year. And Kyle Juszczyk is not here to run the football. That was an emergency option after Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason went down in Buffalo. He was their third option at running back that year. Kyle Juszczyk is one of the best fullbacks to ever play the game, and the blocking has not really eroded for Kyle Juszczyk down the stretch. I appreciate the $1.99 there, but let's have some respect. Let's pretend that we're football intelligent about some of these things. Anybody who's complaining about Kyle Juszczyk returning to the 49ers is a football idiot. They don't understand the X's and O's. They don't understand the importance of what Juszczyk has brought to the offense. It was a tough decision on Monday to move on from Kyle Juszczyk, and they had to sign another guy for $20 million, Luke Farrell, to partially make up for it. They're going to have to change the base package of the offense from 21 to 12. And now they have the best of both worlds. Now they can go back to the Charlie Werner era where they had a good tight end blocking too, probably better with Luke Farrell. And Kyle Juszczyk is still on this roster. I mean, to think of Juszczyk in terms of, this guy is just some fullback that I run fullback dive to on Madden, and he should be able to get 2 yards at the goal line without realizing that he is out wide, formational adaptability, playing in the slot. He was a slot receiver at Harvard, by the way. In college, he played slot receiver. He's playing an H-back role. He's playing tight end. He's playing standard fullback. Yes, he does take a few carries. Yes, he has flattened and ragdolled Minkah Fitzpatrick in his career. To not realize what he brings to the table for the 49ers from an adaptability standpoint is, why even follow the team if you're not going to appreciate what he does in that regard? Because the 49ers have revolutionized how offensive football is played in the NFL over the course of the past 10 years or so through the versatility of their weapons. George Kittle lines up in the backfield occasionally too, but he's an outside wide receiver and a tight end. He's wide receiver one and tight end. So George Kittle, versatile piece. Brandon Ayuk got paid what he did because he can also block on top of his ability as an ex-wide receiver. Deebo Samuel turned into this marquee name around the NFL because he lined up at both running back and wide receiver. So you don't know what the 49ers are going to do based on their alignment thanks to the versatility of their players. And the one guy who's most emblematic of all of that is Kyle Juszczyk, because he literally plays 8 or 9 different positions. Without his versatility, the 49ers would not have been in the same spot. He's earned every dollar that he's made over the course of the past 8 years, and the 49ers found it important enough to get him back in the fold for 2025. There's no question that this is a good move for the 49ers as far as making the team better. They thought that they could pick up most of the slack with Luke Farrell, but there's no way they're ever going to be able to pick up all of the slack. And that's what we were talking about on Monday when the 49ers first released Kyle Juszczyk. Yes, Farrell can bring you more from a 12 personnel adaptability standpoint. He's 6'5", higher center of gravity. The lower center of gravity is better for some of these blocks, but the higher center of gravity can be better, obviously, for the seam routes as a tight end and all that. Why not both? Why one or the other? Maybe the 49ers woke up in the middle of the night and said, why can't we have both of these guys? Why can't we have both Farrell and Kyle Juszczyk? And now they do. And that's good news for San Francisco. So as a recap of all that's happened, those of you who are waking up in the middle of the night, this is probably the second most dramatic nighttime move in this tenure of the 49ers. There was a time in March of 2021, 4 years ago. It was almost exactly 4 years ago. It was probably 17th. I think it was around St. Patrick's Day when Trent Williams and Alex Mack both signed with the 49ers. And I was up all night and we were doing a live and I was writing an article all night. That was crazy times back in the day. I was up at Shaver Lake at the time. Funny enough, Kittle and Juszczyk are pictured here at the wedding of Alex Mack, I believe in Ireland. So fast forward 4 years, Kittle still with the 49ers, Juszczyk still with the 49ers. There's a lot of people that hate on both of these guys for whatever reason. Doesn't make any sense. Probably football idiots that think that they shouldn't still be with the 49ers. Now, the people that were talking about that regarding Juszczyk a couple years ago, they're, funny enough, very quiet right now because he's one of the best players in the whole league. Well, the best fullback in the whole league is still a 49er, whether you like it or not. There was a 5-day gap there where Kyle Juszczyk was not on the 49ers, where they made a difficult financial decision, opted for some true cash spend cost efficiency, but they're better for this move. They definitely are. Kyle Juszczyk back on this football team makes a whole lot of sense for the 49ers. People do need to pay attention. I keep on explaining. I do my best to explain, that's for sure. This is good. Yep, I am for the adults in the room. If you're one of the immature, football ignorant people in the room, you're free to sign off at any time. If you want actual real football analysis, I'll repeat this one more time. This is the largest 49ers channel by far. Over the course of free agency, our views on this channel, you can go and look, you compare it, add up the views, have more than tripled anyone else's. So people come here for grown-up, real football analysis. And if you're complaining about Kyle Juszczyk being re-signed to the 49ers after he's put in 8 years as the best fullback in the league for the team on what has been a revolutionary offense, if you're complaining about that, close the channel. We're still going to get 3 or 4 times more viewers than anybody else. We're still going to dominate every other channel. I'm just spitting facts. This is just the objective look at things. Again, we got people appreciating us for the objectivity here. And I think that the fact that we bring it unfiltered the way that it is, that reflects the truth of the 49ers, and we explain the strategy that way, I think that is what makes this community what it is. So thanks to everybody for making the community what it is. If you don't want to be part of the community, because I see a lot of toxic comments in the chat, you can leave. Funny enough, I say you can leave and nobody's leaving. We're still at 1,700 people viewing live. So you're part of a very, very small minority if you're going to be sitting here complaining about the 49ers re-signing Kyle Juszczyk. Yes, if you are doing that, you are being an absolute football idiot. They don't want the smoke, but then they don't leave. Again, look at the size of the stream. They're not leaving. It's only growing. I'm looking at the numbers right here. It's only growing. So it is what it is. Jimmy G's in the chat. Great news. Signing Kyle Juszczyk. The casuals are hating. Leadership and locker room matters. Yes. Appreciate you, Justin. Thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, Mike is still asleep. This is probably the chat that we have needed Mike for the most, but Mike is great. We love Mike. I'm trying to wait this out so Mike wakes up. It's almost 8 o'clock. But, I mean, Mike worked so hard this week. I said, hey, man, let's just chill. We'll be good. And then this happens in the middle of the night. You know, and at some point, you got to do what I just did, and you have to call it out. There's so much bias And people just don't look at things objectively. They look at things on emotion, and then they think they could say what they want in terms of negativity, even though there's humans on the other end of the line, and they think they could just take to the internet, say what they want without repercussion. It's not how the real world works. And at the end of the day, the honest discussion is what will ultimately be rewarded, which is why over 3 times as many people watch this channel as anything else regarding the 49ers. So it's one of those things where this is a litmus test, right? This is something that is undeniably good for the 49ers. Kyle Juszczyk back in the fold, locker room leader, best fullback in the game. They now have Juszczyk and Farrell, so the offense is going to be more adaptable. This is undeniably good for the 49ers. And if somebody goes out and says that this is somehow not good, it's like, what are we even doing? Right? 1 + 1 = 2 in this world. This is not one of those channels where 1 + 1 = 3. If you want 1 + 1 = 3 or 4 or 5, go to places that live in alternate realities. Go to places that aren't tied in objectivity or the truth. But something like Kyle Juszczyk returning to San Francisco, undeniably good. There's no like drawback to any of this. Then we're going to say that, and we're going to be real with it. And that's why this has become the spot for the 49ers that it has become. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate everybody. I can't keep up with all of these. They're coming in really fast. We're still hoping. We're holding out hope for Mike. I'm holding out right now. I want Mike to show up before we close up the chat today. Anyway, I'm going to go back up to the top. Kyle Juszczyk is back with the 49ers. Juszczyk takes less than the Steelers offered to return to San Francisco. There is a 10-year wall up on the tunnel in the 49ers facility. When you walk from the locker room out to the parking lot, the players' parking lot, there's a wall up there where every single player who's been with the franchise for at least 10 years has his name. And there aren't all that many names up on there. The last name to get up on that wall was Joe Staley, 2007 to 2019 for the 49ers. So they've been itching to get another player up on that 10-year wall. And now, as we can see, the 49ers have a chance with both Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle. Now, these guys obviously great friends. They entered the same year, 2017. Juszczyk signed as a free agent in Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's first ever free agent class. 2018, we saw, 27. That was March of 2017. Then you move forward to May or April of 2017, and the 49ers drafted George Kittle in the 5th round. So Juszczyk slightly longer tenured than George Kittle. And because of that, the longest tenured 49er is now back. For 5 days, it was George Kittle. Now it's Kyle Juszczyk again. And both of these guys are in line to be on the 10-year wall in 2026. It's not a guarantee, but they're in line for that, as Juszczyk is now under contract with the 49ers for 2 more seasons, 2025 and 2026. Remember, before this entire brouhaha of the past 5 days, Juszczyk was only under contract through 2025. So in effect, this is a 1-year extension for Kyle Juszczyk. If the 49ers are trying to build the best possible optimal offense around Brock Purdy, well, Kyle Juszczyk helps them achieve that goal. More 12 personnel adaptability, which is what Luke Farrell gives the 49ers, helps a lot. But Juszczyk does stuff in this offense with his 6'2" center of gravity, his blocking ability behind the line of scrimmage. He does stuff that nobody else in the league can do. And the 49ers are better with him on the roster. All right. I think we're going to give up on Mike, guys, because I have to go get some breakfast. Lombardi herself is going to be hungry. She'll be waking up soon. Maybe we'll do a live with Lombardi herself back in the mix a little bit later today. Who said that 49ers football and covering 49ers football is not entertaining? Kyle Juszczyk is back. Question has been answered. He is a foundational pillar. He is shaded in yellow now. These are your foundational pillars for the 49ers. They're renovating the building. Kyle Juszczyk is a big part of those renovations. They've decided, yes, that pillar needs to stay. Kyle Juszczyk is back 5 days after he was released. One of the biggest plot twists that we've seen, and we've seen a lot of them covering the 49ers. Everybody, thanks for watching. We will talk to you very soon.